there are something that WWE fans should watch. For those of you who are sick and tired of watching the current product that WWE has in store, and even those primetime TV shows that WWE has brought you every week and you can't seem to enjoy it, you may want to check out something that WWE hasn't done before, or for a while, or never been done before, I guess. Guess what? There is a company that is very alternative to WWE, but what about NXT? Well, honestly, it could have been a lot more excitement. Let that sink in. The show has been losing those weekly rating wars during the Wednesday Night War. Take a wise guess on which companies have been going to war with NXT. You guessed it, All Elite Wrestling. Here's a fact. AEW has been broadcasting the show for about a year now, and this video will bring you 10 reasons why WWE fans need to watch AEW. Number 10, it's TV14. But wait, why can't WWE bring back the Attitude Era or the Ruthless Aggression Era? Hold up for a second. The real reason why WWE will never turn their show back into TV14, it's simple. No blood, no foul language, no sexuality, charity campaigns, and it's fan-friendly, pal. If WWE ends up doing this in an opposite way, chances are they could end up getting sued, pull their ads out of their show, the current product will most likely be damaging the market, so therefore they could end up losing a massive amount of money. That explains why WWE will never bring back TV14 to this modern time. Although WWE can still have hardcore matches nowadays, but not as hardcore as Jon Moxley's non-sanctioned matches. But hey, speaking of that, AEW have brought fans to some nostalgic hardcore matches that many wrestling fans wanted to see. Hell, AEW stars can say those foul languages all they want. Just like Jim Ross says holy shit when Jake Hager made his shocking debut on AEW. And fans could see some explicit bloody scenes during the match, cause All Elite Wrestling have brought to you blood and guts. If you're sick of watching those PG wrestling program, you might want to try to watch AEW's TV14 product. Number 9. Look at those ex-WWE stars. If you haven't paid attention to any of those former WWE superstars who have succeeded after leaving the company, then you must be living under the rock. I mean, sure, Chris Jericho was among of those list of guys who have jumped into the different company. Just look at Chris, claim it to be Le Champion and celebrate with a little bit of a bubbly. But what about the other among former WWE superstars, especially those rejected guys who have leveled their success in AEW? Hell, even Cody Rhodes, who made a big jump as a successful wrestler and current executive vice president of AEW. Just look at his father, for God's sakes. But don't you miss Dean Ambrose? I mean, look at Jon Moxley. You should be happy where he's at right now, working for All Elite Wrestling and New Japan Pro Wrestling. This man can do something that WWE doesn't want him to do. That's why he left the company and found a successful run he has. Therefore, fans need to tune in to see how the former WWE superstars are doing on AEW. But don't try to rely on them too much because there are plenty of homegrown stars out there. Number 8, it's on Turner Network Television. Well, there's not much to say that WWE will never be on TNT, am I right? I mean, remember those days when Turner Broadcasting System used to air WCW Monday Nitro on TNT? Good times, pal. Right until the fans witnessed the beginning of the death of WCW, overwhelmed storylines, hell, even crappy bookings made by Vince Russo, bro, and many more backstage politics. After 18 years of no wrestling shows on TNT, AEW found a new deal with Turner Network when they broadcast a weekly television show on Turner Network Television. You know what it is? AEW Dynamite. every Wednesday night on primetime television, it will always be TV-14, including dialogue, language, and violence. That's right, it's a revolution to the next level of professional wrestling. Number 7. Unscripted promos. In WWE, the creative writers and Vince McMahon will have to tell you what to say in front of the camera, especially during interviews, segments, and promos. You will have to use those scripted words, but you cannot say those banded words that would piss Vince McMahon off. But what about AEW? How many writers are working for AEW? The answer is big zero. Big fat zero. Zero. No need to have writers. AEW stars have the rights to voice for themselves, just like it's TV-14. Fans will need to understand that those wrestlers have found themselves to voice on their own, rather than being told what to say. Just imagine if you hand a written script to MJF, he would tear those papers and say to your face, "I'm better with my words, and you know it." Number 6. Creative freedom. When it comes to joining WWE, they would have to tell you what gimmick you need to play on TV, even if it's the most ridiculous idea. When it comes to joining AEW, they would give you a creative freedom, whatever you want. Just look at Darby Allin. These are the words he said at StarCast. AEW is like, how do you want to be presented? Instead of, this is how we're going to present you. It's like, give me that creative freedom and I'll do whatever the hell I can. With WWE, I said they probably would have made me like a creepy figure hanging out in a boiler room, jacking off or something. No, I'm fine. I want to skateboard and represent that culture. It's a broader audience, that's the truth. Number 5. No matches will ever end by DQ. For those of you who have seen many WWE matches countless of times, you would know something goes wrong when a match ends by a disqualification, especially on every single episode of weekly primetime television shows. I mean, just look at those dream matches. For those of you who are smart enough to understand the WWE logics, you would know for a fact that it usually ends by a disqualification that would lead up to a tag team match, or just plain nothing. That's why you won't be seeing those matches in AEW that would end by a disqualification, especially the main event, unless if it's the Iron Man match or 2 out of 3 falls match. Just remember these wise words in AEW. Nobody wants the main event to end in a disqualification. Number 4. Premier storytelling. Vince McMahon mainly wanted his show to be like movies, which turns out to be disaster when it comes to show that looks very bland from the wrestling fans' perspective. There are some stories that makes absolutely no sense. Look at Triple H vs Undertaker at Super Showdown. These two were supposed to have a final chapter at WrestleMania 28, which turns out to be a false advertisement. And Shawn Michaels choosing his best friend over the dead man, which makes it a lot more personal, doesn't seem to make any sense whatsoever. Just look at the bright side. They also fought each other again, but this time in a tag team match that nobody wants to see in a disastrous pay-per-view show. Just look at AEW. They've been trying to make a perfect art of pro wrestling storytelling. Even those matches are looking to have a predictable ending, it would also develop a storytelling that would lead up to a pay-per-view show. Just look at the succession of incident war between Inner Circle and the Elite. Another thing is that Chris Jericho has his own creative control and can handle what's happening behind the scenes, inside and outside of the ring. What he can do is make a great storytelling. I mean, look at his rivalries with Cody Rhodes and Jon Moxley in the recent year as Le Champion of AEW. This is why WWE needs to take note on how to make a better storytelling just like AEW. Number 3, age number doesn't matter. Oh, I'm sure WWE doesn't want to feature old people on television unless they have a part-time deal on either biggest event of the year, special occasions on TV, or getting a massive paycheck to appear on a Saudi Arabia show. Who would have thought that Vince McMahon is one of the biggest hypocrites in WWE, recycling those old producers, burying those well-known veterans, and have a past prime wrestler gaining their glory / headlining the show. I mean, come on now, whenever you see something on Dynamite, you would see Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone commentating full time. One half of the Brainbuster, Tully Blanchard, managing the chairman of AEW. Another half of the Brainbusters, the Enforcer, Arn Anderson, managing the American Nightmare. Hell, even the legendary wrestler Jake Roberts managing the Murder Hawk Monster. It's very understandable that these wrestling legends are putting over this youth movement that would create the effect it is for everyone, and bringing in genius old minds from the harsh wilderness futures AEW's perception as the alternate company. Number 2, AEW cares about its fans. WWE usually said they would give the fans what they want, which is clearly very exaggerating because they don't usually give the fans what they want because they don't care about their fan base. Vince McMahon has his own mindset of what he sees in the past, in the present, or in the future. Unless fans are overwhelmed and wanted to see something that would make them happy. Just look at Kofi Kingston taking his footstep to winning the WWE Championship, all just to lose to Brock Lesnar in a 7-second match. Hell, most of the time WWE wouldn't care less about their fans when they broadcast those ridiculous matches on television and pay-per-view that has no meaning to its theme. The fans have the audacity to voice their thoughts and feelings about the shows they've been witnessing, which is why one of the AEW executives have the right feelings and respond to the various complaints. Whenever those AEW wrestlers have got the fans over, you would always see those top favorable stars on television every week, because AEW is sensory inclusive, whereas WWE shines the blinding lights into your face at WrestleMania. And number 1, it's Sports League, fellas. There are differences between professional wrestling and sports entertainment. AEW is treating like a real sport of professional wrestling, whereas WWE is a revolutionary force in sports entertainment. AEW is broadcasting more matches and less interviews, segments, and promos, whereas WWE is doing a complete opposite, where they mainly focusing on promos, segments, and interviews, and less wrestling matches, which is why Raw 25 has a lack of wrestling matches, despite the fact that it was mainly a celebration of the 25 years of the #1 show on the USA Network. But let's not get into that. The main thing about AEW's Sport League is that it has the power ranking, where wins and losses really matters. Wrestler would go from a scratch to winning more matches, to the top contender of the division, to the challenging for the championship, and that's how the Sport League works in AEW. And that concludes the 10 reasons why WWE fans need to watch AEW. If you have any thoughts about this topic of the video, or can come up with any reasons why WWE fans need to tune in for AEW, feel free to leave your comments down below. Other than that, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Twitter. Until then, thanks for watching.